All right, welcome back to the garage. Today's going to be a bit different. Uh, it's not potato cannon like the last time, but I'm starting a project. It's called Project 9144. And this this episode, it's going to be a few episodes, like maybe 7 depending on how fast I go. But I wrote out this roadmap to like go over the kind of stuff that I'd be doing, and that's what this episode is going to be. It's going to be just going over that thing, and so y'all know like what I'm doing. I have it pulled up here, and I'll put up on the screen somewhere. But so here it is. The idea. It's going to be a rocket that will go up to 30,000 feet. It'll be SRAD, or Student Research and Design. So I'd be making a custom fuel, custom motor, airframe, and it'll have an 8-pound payload and a bunch of sensors and instruments and everything. And then here is the design. Design is literally everything that I would design. This whole thing is 6 pages long. But let's start with the first thing. First thing that I'm going to be designing is the fuel. So the basic fuel is white mix, or it's also, I call it white mix because it's simple, but it's also known as rocket candy, KNSU, I believe. But it's just potassium nitrate and sugar and powdered sugar. But this fuel has already been well tested, well known, and everything. So it'll just be the proof of concept, like to make sure the actual motor works, to make sure the test stand works, the rocket, and everything like that. And then my custom blend, which is going to be the main fuel that the rocket's going to use, is called Grey Goop. Beautiful name, but I'm not going to go into formulations because it's mine. But the properties are well unknown because I haven't tested it yet. But it should have a theoretical ISP of about 210, and compared that to white mix, white mix has about 140, 150. But yeah, then you go lower, and that's the motor, the actual motor part. Uh, the proof of concepts going to be a WRM-6, which I've actually tested twice on the 2 field aids that I've done. That motor that exploded. Oh my god! Uh, that was the WRM-6, and it's actually an I353 class motor with those properties. And I'll put up an open motor file for the thrust curve somewhere, or like I don't know. I'll figure that out. But the final motor, the final proof of concept motor, which is going to be in the proof of concept rocket, is a GGRM-6, and that just uses the Grey Goop fuel instead of the Y-Mix fuel in the WRM. But the final motor, this is the big one. It's the WRM-18, which is an M3380 class motor. And this is also the proof of concept for the final rocket, which I'll get into the more details later. But those are the specs. Put another thrust curve up somewhere. And then the final motor is the actual final motor is the GGRM-18, which is the final motor that'll go in the rocket. And another thing is the 6 means it uses 6 inches worth of fuel. So like the length is actually 6 inches of fuel. And then the 18 is 18 inches of fuel, which is like what, that much? That's a lot, I'm realizing. But yeah, now the liner. The liner is sacrificial gonna sound weird, but craft paper. Yeah, it's made of craft paper. I don't have anything here, but fireworks, they use cardboard. The the firework tube, and this is just cardboard, really. Uh, but if you look at the inside, look at the inside. Can't see it, but there we go. That's charred. So I think before it was a few layers thicker than that, but that burnt like barely anything. And this was a smoke stick, so it was full of the white mix, but it was made in a way to where it produces more smoke and burns slower. I'll put a video of that up now, I guess. But it didn't burn. I mean, it worked, but yeah, this is the main idea that I'm going off for the liner. And I've actually made my own, which was the second WRM-6 motor that I tested on the second field day that blew up. But it's made of the craft paper, and then a wood glue, IPA, and water mixture to hold it all together. And we rolled to an 1/8 inch thick, and if that fails, then I'll add water glass or just make it thicker. In the case, the reason why they both failed was because they were just the liner. So now I'm gonna put a case on it, which won't make it explode. There'll be an aluminum tube. The proof of concept motors will use schedule 40, final motor schedule 80, but since the pressures are going to be so much higher, like going back, the proof of concepts has a peak pressure of about 1200 psi, and that's not even the final proof of concept. And the second one has a peak of just above or just about 3100 psi. So they'll have to survive a lot. But proof of concept motor is 1 3/8 of an inch, and the final motor is 3.364 inner diameters, and then the outer diameters are there. But for the nozzles, uh, they're weird materials. Usually nozzles are made of like metal or graphite, but the proof of concept motors that I've tested, the two that I tested, they use this oven baked clay. They use oven baked clay as the nozzles with no convergence, no divergence angles, with just a straight hole. And they actually survived. What failed was a liner, but they technically survived. So after that, I go on to the graphite impregnated max HTE epoxy, which is a high temperature epoxy that can survive higher temperatures, and you put graphite in it to make it survive higher temperatures and to make it a bit stronger. But I would cast that, and if that fails or if it gets like ripped out the actual motor, then I'd switch to aluminum, which I don't want to, but I'm gonna have to buy a lathe. They're so expensive. They're like $400. The cheapest one I could find off eBay was like 300, and then I have to buy an actual chuck to mill it down. It's like another 70. So I don't want to do that, but I might have to. And then the end cap is just a 1 inch aluminum plug. And then there's the airframe, which is like the actual rocket itself. But the proof of concept rocket, I'll put an on-shape model up somewhere again. But it's 6 feet. So like, I don't know if y'all probably can't see that, but it's like this tall. 6 foot. And then it's 3 inches in diameter. I might change that. I'm probably gonna drop it a bit since it has a 1.66 inch outer diameter, and I'll add a 16th inch wall, so it'll probably be just shy of 2 inch diameter. So I'm gonna have to change the model, but everything else will probably stay the same. So the fins, the walls, the payload bay, the nose cone, be printed out of carbon fiber PETG because it's cheap and easy to print. We go 12 pounds with the motor and the payload. and I'll be about 500 feet since it uses the small motor, and it's heavy for that motor. But the final rocket is 7.5 feet tall, probably touching that thing up there, that rack. It'll probably be touching that. Can't even touch it. But and 4.4 1/4 inches in diameter, and there's the fins, the walls, the payload bay, the nose cone, carbon fiber PETG again, and then it'll be about 14.5 pounds. And this one's the rocket that'll go up to 30,000 feet. So has to be light, has to have good motor, and go far. But the sensors, this is where the fun, I guess fun, but the purpose of the rocket is. It'll have the BMP 390 MPU 6500, and to calculate those, and then it'll have the Teensy 4.1 for the actual everything, to compute everything, and then it'll have two cameras, one facing out the side and one facing lower, so you can see everything, because the view at 30,000 feet is probably insane. Then it'll be powered by that battery. And then for the recovery, it'll just be a simple 60-inch nylon parachute, injection 1 to 2 grams of black powder, plus a recovery rating, and it'll be after either a timer or an altimeter. It might be a timer, since that's easier to calculate. You just take the burn rate of the motor and then the coast time, and then pop it at the apogee. But it might be altitude dependent too. But for the igniter, it'll be like those Estes type igniters, for those hobby motors. But I'll be making it myself with the Nichrome wire Salt and Pepper V2. That's another one of my mixes that is mine, but it's like a flash powder. And then there's the what it's going to be on, and then the launch controller, which is a simple launch controller, also like the Estes's launch controller, and the test stand. This here, I got the whole thing. The test stand, I'll also put up a picture of the Onshape, but those are all the things. It'll be a small 1x1. How big is a foot? I haven't even looked to see how big it'll be. A foot. Right, and it'll have the load cell, thermocouple at the midpoint. It'll have a pressure transducer, and it'll have a camera looking at the plume. So that'll give you the thrust, temperature, and then the pressures, which is really useful to figure out basically everything about the motor, because you can calculate everything with really just the thrust and the pressure and all this stuff. The burn time is just the time that it burns. Impulse, ISP, all that can be calculated from those. But it'll also use a Teensy 4.1, since they're really fast, and they use the same code as the Arduinos, so I'm kind of familiar with it. But it'll cost about $475, which in the grand scheme of things and relative to this kind of project is not that much. But to me, and me being poor, it's kind of a lot, but it's necessary. It can actually fit up to, I think it was a 9-inch diameter motor, so it's pretty nice. I probably won't be able to handle it since the floor is made of plywood and it's just so small, but it can theoretically. And there's a launch pad. Also another Onshape model. I've already made all of these. They might be subject to change depending on how tests go, but use a 97-inch rail. I wanted to do 10 foot, but the price jump from this one, which is about $200, the actual thing is like 60, but the shipping is just crazy. And then the jump from that to 10 feet is like a difference of $300. Like it'll cost like $500 to ship the 10-foot thing, which I'm not gonna do all that. that price is already kind of a lot. But yeah, there's that, and then all the licenses, permits, permissions, everything I need to fly and test all this. Mostly fly it, since 30,000 feet is kind of up. It's kind of up. So you need to go to a sanction site. You need to get waivers, approval, all that stuff. And the cost of everything, I have the cost of the white mix, gray goop, craft paper, all this, all the price of literally everything. This is crazy how one resistor is 2250. Um, I don't know why it's like this. How the bigger battery is cheaper than the smaller ones, but I'm gonna try and get this to be under $1,500, which it looks like it should theoretically, if I don't have to do a bunch of tests. Because I was thinking of doing three or one of the white mix motors just to see how the stand and stuff actually functions with it. And then I do three of the gray goop motors just to get the average of the properties to be accurate and everything. And then I'd fly the proof of concept rocket, which has an altitude of only like 500 feet, so it shouldn't need too much approval and stuff. But uh, the bigger rockets, I do one again of the Dash 18 motor, and then three more of the Grey Goop 1 version. It'll go to 30,000 feet, and then I'd be happy. I'm gonna try and do it this summer, and then probably next summer. So I'm gonna try and work on it as much as I can, but it's be a long project and a pretty fun one too. I just want to really go over this, get the whole idea of the project I'm doing, and then next time I'll be probably be building the test stand, since that's the first infrastructure you need. And then along with then after the test stand, I'll probably be the launch controller and the motors and all that stuff. But I'll go into more detail about the motors and the test stand and all that whenever I'm building it. But this is the project. So there might be what are they called? Field days. There might still be field days depending on what I'm testing. I might have these included in a field day, and I just put the recordings, the data, and all that together on separately. A lot of planning, a lot of engineering, a lot of testing and data analysis and all that stuff. But it'll be fun, and I'll get to see the view at 30,000 feet in 5K, because these cameras, 5K action camera, clear view of, I think it was like 100 miles out. You can see the curvature of the Earth. It'd be crazy.